Could these be pictures of the Loch Ness Monster, like a creature spinning and rolling on the surface of Loch Ness?
For almost 100 years, the Loch Ness Monster has stood as one of the world's most enduring mysteries. Tales of a giant beast lurking in the shadowy depths of Scotland's most famous loch have fascinated scientists, skeptics, and believers alike.
A new picture has surfaced showing what appeared to be a large dark mass beneath the calm, still waters of the loch.
The legend has grown so powerful that Nessie, as she's affectionately known, has become more than just a creature. She's an icon. But modern science has begun to pull back the veil. Recent research suggests the puzzle may at last be cracked, and what scientists uncovered beneath the waters of Loch Ness is surprising enough to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the legend. Before diving into these breakthroughs, however, it's important to step back and ask, where did the story begin? Ancient legends. Monsters of the Highlands. Long before the world had ever heard the name Nessie, the people of the Scottish Highlands were already whispering tales of dangerous beings that lived in the water. Celtic folklore is filled with warnings about supernatural creatures linked to rivers and lochs. One of the most terrifying was the Kelpie, a shape-shifting spirit that often appeared as a beautiful horse. According to legend, the Kelpie would lure travelers onto its back, only to drag them beneath the surface, never to be seen again. Another nightmare figure from Highland lore was the Nuckalavee, a sea demon described as horse-like, grotesque, and skinless, with raw muscle and veins exposed. These stories were not merely entertainment. They functioned as cautionary tales, instilling respect and even fear toward the vast, unpredictable waters of Scotland. The first written reference to a water monster in the region goes back to the 6th century. The biography of Saint Columba, an Irish missionary, describes how he encountered locals burying a man near the River Ness. The man, they claimed, had been attacked by a beast in the water. Later, when the creature reappeared, Columba raised his hand, made the sign of the cross, and commanded it to retreat. To the astonishment of all, the monster fled. This event became the earliest recorded tale of a Loch Ness Monster, cementing the story into Christian and local tradition alike. For centuries afterward, the Highlands remained remote and isolated. These tales of water demons circulated mainly within local communities, shaping regional identity but attracting little outside attention. That quiet isolation would change dramatically in the 20th century. The modern legend. How Nessie took the world by storm. In 1933, the opening of the A82 road along the northern shore of Loch Ness made the loch more accessible than ever. Tourists and locals alike suddenly had panoramic views of its mysterious waters. That same year, George and Aldi Spicer reported seeing an enormous creature cross the road in front of their car before disappearing into the loch. Newspapers seized on the account, and soon, the Loch Ness Monster became a worldwide obsession. But the legend's true breakthrough came in 1934 with the publication of the now famous surgeon's photograph. The image appeared to show a long-necked creature rising from the water, resembling what people imagined a surviving plesiosaur might look like. The photo was splashed across newspapers, reprinted in magazines, and turned Nessie into a household name. For decades, it was considered the strongest evidence of the monster's existence. Souvenirs, toys, and even Hollywood films capitalized on the image, embedding Nessie in popular culture. Yet the truth was far more disappointing. In 1994, Christian Sperling admitted the photograph was a hoax, created using a toy submarine with a sculpted head and neck. What had seemed like undeniable proof was nothing more than an elaborate prank. This revelation did little to stop the flood of evidence that followed. Blurry photographs, shaky videos, and suspicious sonar readings continued to emerge, though many were later exposed as fabrications or misidentifications. By the time the truth about the surgeon's photograph was revealed, the monster had already become larger than life, a phenomenon that no single debunking could erase. The scientific hunt. Searching the depths. By the mid-20th century, the hunt for Nessie had shifted away from casual sightings and toward scientific investigation. Starting in the 1960s, researchers deployed sonar equipment to scan the loch's depths. Loch Ness is massive, stretching 23 miles long, over a mile wide, and more than 755 feet deep. Its dark peat-stained waters make visibility nearly impossible, turning it into a perfect breeding ground for mystery. Sonar surveys returned intriguing but inconclusive results. Strange, moving blips appeared on screens, hinting at large objects beneath the water. These findings fueled public fascination, even though nothing definitive ever surfaced. In 1975, Dr. Robert Rines conducted one of the most famous studies, combining sonar with underwater photography. His team produced a grainy image that appeared to resemble a flipper, which many speculated could belong to a prehistoric reptile. Hopes soared that proof was finally within reach. Then came Operation Deep Scan in 1987, the most ambitious search ever undertaken. 24 boats equipped with advanced sonar systematically swept the loch. During the survey, researchers detected what appeared to be a large, unidentified object around 600 feet below the surface. Excitement mounted, but once again, no tangible evidence followed. The challenge lay in the loch itself. Its sheer size, depth, and poor visibility made it a nightmare to study. Each investigation raised tantalizing possibilities, yet none could deliver conclusive proof. For a time, science seemed to have reached a dead end. That is, until a new kind of research emerged. The DNA revolution, a new kind of evidence. In 2018, a team of researchers led by Professor Neil Gemmell from New Zealand applied a groundbreaking method known as environmental DNA, or eDNA. Every living creature sheds tiny traces of DNA into its environment, from skin cells, mucus, waste, or scales. By collecting water samples, scientists can identify the genetic signatures of species without ever seeing the animals themselves. Gemmell's team took more than 250 water samples from various depths and locations in Loch Ness. If an unknown species lurked in the loch, its DNA would be detected. The results were astonishing. No plesiosaur DNA, no massive reptile signatures, no evidence of anything outside the range of known species. But one result stood out: an overwhelming amount of eel DNA. In fact, eels appeared to be far more common than any other large species in the loch. This finding led to a striking new theory. Perhaps the Loch Ness Monster was not a monster at all, but simply very large eels. European eels are known to migrate through rivers and lochs, and while most are small, some can grow to impressive lengths. In the dark, murky waters of Loch Ness, the sight of a thick, elongated body twisting at the surface could easily be misinterpreted as a serpent-like creature. A giant eel surfacing might even create the humps and ripples described in countless eyewitness reports. Though not as thrilling as a living dinosaur, the eel theory provided the most scientifically grounded explanation yet. The psychology of monsters. Why we keep seeing Nessie. Even with scientific evidence pointing toward ordinary explanations, reports of Nessie sightings have never stopped. Psychology offers a powerful clue as to why. Human perception is easily influenced by expectation. When people approach Loch Ness primed by decades of legend, their minds are more likely to interpret ordinary events, a floating log, a wave pattern, even a swimming deer, as something extraordinary. This phenomenon, known as priming, suggests that people see what they expect to see. In other words, the legend itself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nessie endures not just because of biology or sonar blips, but because of the power of human imagination. Still, a handful of cases continue to puzzle experts. The famous Dinsdale film of 1960 shows a dark object moving steadily across the water. Some analysts insist it was just a boat. Others argue its movement is consistent with an animal. Likewise, sonar scans in the 1970s tracked what seemed to be a large moving creature at depth for several minutes. These anomalies provide enough fuel to keep believers hopeful that the mystery isn't entirely solved. Nessie's legacy, more than just a monster. Whether Nessie exists or not, her impact is undeniable. Today, Loch Ness attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, generating millions for Scotland's tourism industry. The small village of Drumnadrochit thrives almost entirely on the Nessie economy, offering museums, exhibitions, gift shops, and boat tours dedicated to the legend. Beyond economics, Nessie represents something deeper: the wild, untamed spirit of the Scottish Highlands. To locals and visitors alike, she symbolizes mystery, wonder, and the enduring possibility that the world still holds secrets. Final verdict: mystery solved, legend alive. So, has the Loch Ness Monster finally been explained? The weight of evidence suggests yes. The absence of unknown DNA rules out prehistoric reptiles or undiscovered giants. The most convincing explanation is that Nessie sightings stem from giant eels, combined with human imagination, misidentifications, and a long history of deliberate hoaxes. Yet, far from being disappointing, this conclusion highlights something even more powerful: the way myths, science, and psychology intertwine to create enduring legends. Nessie may not be real in the biological sense, but in cultural and symbolic terms, she's larger than life. The Loch Ness Monster proves that mystery itself has value. People don't just come to Loch Ness searching for a creature. They come searching for wonder, for the possibility that not everything in our world has been explained. And in that sense, Nessie will never die. So what do you think? Could the monster truly have been a giant eel all along? Or do you still believe something extraordinary lurks beneath the loch's dark waters? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching.